Hey everyone, this is Michael again and welcome to another video. And in this video, I want to talk about a channel that is now defunct and it's been off the air for 11 years. And it was one of my favorite channels on digital cable, like my top favorite channel on digital cable. And that was Nickelodeon Games and Sports for Kids, short for Nick Gas. And I know it's been a while since I talked stuff Nickelodeon. It's been a long time since I did a Nickelodeon video. But I was thinking, since today marks the 20th anniversary of when the channel launched, it launched today on March 1st. I thought might as well, talk about the channel and my memories of it. And I'm going to title this video The Rise and Fall of Nick Gas. So before I talk about, like my memories with this channel, just going to give you all, a little history on how the channel came to be. So Nick Gas launched as a 1-hour block on Nickelodeon on November 9th, 1998. The block featured game and sports related shows such as the original Wild and Crazy Kids, Nickelodeon Guts, and Figure It Out. It was a 1-hour block. It was a success. And then from the success of the block, Viacom, Nickelodeon launched the channel Nick Gas, which launched on March 1st of 1999. Today, 20 years ago. And the programming on the channel consists of game shows and sports-related programs. All the game shows from Nickelodeon's library. And it included shows such as, Nickelodeon Guts. It had every version of Double Dare from the original Double Dare to Double Dare 2000. Figure It Out. It had Nick Arcade, and the list goes on and on. And the channel was proven a success with kids and teens. And what was cool about the channel is it didn't feature any commercials. And when shows went to break, the channel aired interstitials. I think that's how you pronounce the name. It included interstitials called Heroes of the Game, The Gas Grill, Trade Tricks, Timeout, which I remember it was they had like a sport athlete come on and they would ask a question and you would try to think of what the right one was. So they give you like an A, B, C, or D like answers. And that's pretty much what it was, but it was fun. And they had something called TUMEG, don't remember what that was. Skill Drill, MLS Play of the Week, Global Gas, which featured games and sports from around the world, which was done by Matty Moriello. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. But he was always featured in those Global Gas interstitials. And it also featured Home Turf Highlights, Let's Just Play ads, In Play Today, All Access, Fast Break, the Gascaster Report, which I remember. And when the network launched, it featured, This Day in History. So it was awesome. It was an awesome channel. And they did have blocks that aired on the channel. They had like 6 blocks, 6 programming blocks. One of the blocks was Camp Gas, which they would do every summer, which was aired from 2000 to 2004. It had Extreme Gas, which was from 1999 to 2002. Family Fuel from 1999 to 2002. Featured a programming block called Heads Up, which I remember, which only aired for a year from 2001 to 2002. And what I really liked about Heads Up was in that block they had a short called Gas Garage, and that short tied into the show that we were watching, and it brought us, fun facts and trivia, and they also had competitions between families, interviews with athletes and other celebrities, and it was hosted by either Dave Azer, who was the host of Slime Time Live on Nickelodeon back in the day, and it was either him or Vivian Collins, who was one of the co-hosts on You're On, which was a Nickelodeon show that was hosted by Fillmore. So it was either them two that were hosting that, and they were on the network. Both of them were on the network from 1999 to 2003. And then we had Matty Moriello. He was one of the hosts. That he was on Nick Gas from 2001 to 2005. And then a few others, joined there, during like commercials, which they didn't have. And they also had Double Dare Double Play, which was for an hour, which featured two Double Dares. When it started, it was the original Double Dare from 1986, and then they would rotate, because I remember the block was off from 2 to 3 o'clock. So at 2 o'clock they had a original Double Dare episode from 1986, and then 2:30 they had either Family Double Dare or Super Sloppy Double Dare. They rotated in between those shows. Sometimes they had Double Dare 2000. So I remember the Double Dare Double Play. And they also had a block called Pump and Gas, which was on for, I think, 2 hours. And I remember in that block, it featured Figure It Out. I know one of them was Figure It Out that they had on the block. They had Nickelodeon Guts. I think they had an episode of Double Dare, Legends of the Hidden Temple, and a few others I can't remember though. But I remember, Pump and Gas, like the bumpers. It was like racing cars. It was like sort of like a NASCAR where they're racing around the track. So it was cool. And then that block lasted from 99 to 2005. And then they had another block called Wild Card, which was from 99 to 2002. And that's all I gotta say about that. That was like when the network first launched. But skip right on ahead. I'm gonna give you like my memories of the channel from when I first discovered it. I discovered Nick Gas in 2002 while I was visiting my cousin. I was over at my cousin's house. They lived in Staten Island out here. I was still living in Brooklyn at the time, and my family didn't get digital cable until like maybe like 2005, 2006, somewhere around there. And whenever I would go to like my cousin's house, because they had Time Warner Cable, which nowadays it's Spectrum. And if we weren't doing anything, we would watch TV, and it was by myself that discovered the channel while watching like TV over there. So I was flipping through the guide of the Time Warner Cable, and I came upon a channel called Gas, and it said Nick Gas on top. And I was like, oh, what is this? And so I see I go through the guide to different times, and I see Figure It Out. I'm like, hey, I used to like Figure It Out. I used to love that show. Then I would see Guts, Global Guts. Really enjoyed those shows too. Uh, Nick Arcade. I used to like Nick Arcade. I loved that show. And What Would You Do? I used to like that show also. I'm like, wow, all the game shows that I used to watch, all the Nickelodeon game shows I used to watch are on, their own channel. And this channel was Nickelodeon's answer to Game Show Network. Basically, it was the children's version to Game Show Network. But when I was, flipping through the guide, I was like, wow, I used to love these game shows. And back then, Nick Gas on Time Warner Cable, whenever I would visit my cousin's house, it was on channel 137 here in New York, for New York's Time Warner programming channel guide. And I remember I flipped it on, and one of the very first shows that I saw was What Would You Do? And What Would You Do was a fun show. It was hosted by Mark Summers, and I really enjoyed that show. It was a very fun show where Mark Summers would go into the audience, and usually he would ask, do you want to do this, or would you want to go to like the Pie Pod or the Pie Coaster or the Pie Slide? Which the Pie Pod was one of my favorite things that they did, because it would just be a contraption, and they would give like they would count to 3, and like the pies would go at either a kid or an adult, and then they would bring down like some of the times like the Crown of Glory, which was like this pink like goo. But it was a fun show. I know Mark Summers, from what I read, he didn't really like hosting the show. So, but that was from what I read. That's from what I heard. So, but What Would You Do was a fun show. Even though I kind of feel it's forgotten about, like people forgotten about that show. But yeah, so that was one of the first shows that I watched on Nick Gas when I discovered the channel. And whenever, like I said, whenever I was over at my cousin's house, if we didn't do nothing, we were watching Nick Gas. We were constantly watching the channel. And it sucks that like we had my family had the hot box back in the day. It was like a cable box with like the red timer on it, which told you like the time. So we didn't get Nick Gas. Like every time when I went to my cousin's house, I was always watching the channel, and like sometimes I would take like a blank VHS and record some of the game shows from Nick Gas while I was over at my cousin's house, just to watch those game shows, and remember watching them when I was a kid. Like it brought back memories of me watching those shows as a kid. So, and even it was also on Dish Network. I remember. Sadly, DirecTV didn't carry the channel. It was only on Dish. And one of my cousins, they had Dish Network, and they got the channel. So me and my cousins were watching it on Dish Network when we were at my other cousin's house. So I mean, that channel was just a fun. It was just a fun time with that channel. So, but back to some of the history. In 2003, Nick Gas had 3 network original series, and those 3 shows were Play to Z, Game Farm, and Splash TV. I did see a little bit of Game Farm when it was on the network, but I didn't watch the whole show. But what it looked like, it was like a a reboot, sort of like Nick Arcade. That's pretty much basically what it was like. And all three of those shows were canceled in 2004 because of low ratings. And around there, sort of like around there, like in like 2003ish, there, they were airing shows that had to deal with extreme sports and competitions, and they were airing shows like Rocket Power. Rocket Power was on there, Speed Racer X, Scaredy Camp, and Salute Your Shorts. Scaredy Camp and Salute Your Shorts were part of the Camp Gas block, I remember. And I didn't get to watch Salute Your Shorts until it aired on the 90s Are All That, because I heard a lot of people said, who liked that show, and they said it was a good show. So I watched that show when it was airing later on the 90s Are All That block, and I enjoyed that show. I enjoy Salute Your Shorts. Scaredy Camp I never watched, but I knew it was on Nick Gas. And the channel was just a success. Had a lot of good game shows from Nickelodeon's library. Had, like I said, every version of Double Dare. Double Dare from 1986, Family Double Dare, Super Sloppy Double Dare, Double Dare 2000, and Super Special Double Dare, which I have never seen. Had Figure It Out, and both Figure It Out Family and Wild Style. Finders Keepers, which I never watched. Get the Picture, which I've seen a couple of episodes of that. It was hosted by Mike O'Malley. It was a fun show. Get the Picture, where you would have to guess what's behind, where you have to guess the picture, and you would have to choose like a number, and if they revealed that number, you would get like a clue to what the picture is. It was a fun show. Had Guts and Global Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, and I was never a big Legends of the Hidden Temple fan. I never watched like a full episode. I've seen clips of it here and there. I never was a big Legends of the Hidden Temple guy. Then you had Make the Grade, which I never seen. Nick Arcade. Nick Arcade is a fun show hosted by Phil Moore. And what I really liked about that show was they would the contestants would move a character named Mikey, and whenever he moved, it would either go to like a prize, or one of my favorites where if Mikey landed was the video challenge. And if the contestants got a video challenge, they would go play like a game in a sense of like an arcade thing that looked like you were playing at the arcade. And one of the popular ones that I remember was Sonic the Hedgehog. Like there was contestants that played Sonic the Hedgehog in a video challenge. And then at the end of the show, if the contestants got like a high points, they would go on to the video zone, because they would have these sort of whatchamacallit there. If I could remember, like these characters, like these video game wizards, and the contestants would have to go into the video zone to play against the wizards of the day. But Nick Arcade, I really loved that show. It was a very fun show. And I know that they were that Phil Moore, from what I've seen like on YouTube, in like interviews that he does, he's trying to get to do like a similar show to Nick Arcade. I hope that happens though. Then you had Robot Wars, Nickelodeon Robot Wars, that was on the network from 2003 to 2004. And Robot Wars was brought over to Nick Gas because it originally aired on Nickelodeon under this block. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but they had a block called Slam, called Nickelodeon Slam. and Nickelodeon Robot Wars was part of that block. I remember. But Robot Wars, it was a very good, entertaining show where these people would put their robots in there to fight. It's like BattleBots. If any of you watch or know BattleBots. So, and then you had a show called Skate TV, which I never watched, but I've seen clips of it. It has to deal with skateboarding. Think Fast, which I never seen. What Would You Do, which I mentioned. Wild and Crazy Kids, the original Wild and Crazy Kids that I grew up with, which was hosted by Omar Gooden, Donnie Jeffcoat, and it had two girls. In season 1, it was a girl named Annette Chavez, and then later on for the series, she was replaced by Jessica Gaines. And the original Wild and Crazy Kids, it was fun. Really loved it. The revival also aired on Nick Gas in reruns because Nickelodeon aired it in 2002. It was hosted by Maddie Moriello, who was one of the hosts on Nick Gas. And the revival, the reboot of that, it was crap. It was shit in my opinion. Did not compare to the original. But the original Wild and Crazy Kids is always going to be one of my favorites. And they also had You're On, which was hosted by Phil Moore. Seen a little bit of that. It's a funny show. Basically, if I can remember, it was sort of like a premise of that show, similar to Candid Camera, where these contestants who are trying to convince people to complete a series of tasks. It was kind of like that. It was a very funny show. I remember. But yeah, those were all the shows that were on Nick Gas, and the channel, like I said, was a success with kids and teens from 1999 to 2004. That was the rise of the channel. And then 2005 happened. Now here's where we get to the downfall of Nick Gas. In 2005, the channel was fully automated, and they only had 7 shows in a permanent time slot. Those 7 shows were Nickelodeon Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Figure It Out, Get the Picture, Double Dare 2000, Nick Arcade, and Finders Keepers. And also they had the same interstellar segments being broadcast, like Heroes of the Game, the Gas Grill, Time Out, and pretty much that was basically all it was. It was automated. There was errors that occurred, glitches, like the errors. I remember because I got the channel. My family got digital cable in like 2005, maybe 2006. So we got digital cable. Nick Gas came with the package, and even in its dying days, I was still watching Nick Gas because it was always something on. There was always something on the channel, even though it was the same shows every day. At least it was something to watch. But the errors that they had is like if they would announce like, oh, coming up next, it's Double Dare 2000, and then the show comes on and it's Figure It Out. So it's sort of like those. So it's an error that occurred. They always had errors from time to time during that time when it was on when the channel was automated. But like I said, we got digital cable like 2005, 2006. Nick Gas came with it. I was watching it even in its dying days. And at that time, in 2006, Finders Keepers was removed. from the network schedule, and Get the Picture was also taken off of the network, I think. And it was only down to Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Figure It Out, Double Dare 2000, and Nick Arcade. I think it was that, or unless Get the Picture was still on there. But it was no, Get the Picture was off there because I remember it was only 6 shows that was left on there, and it was just Guts, Legends of the Hidden Temple, Figure It Out, Double Dare 2000, Nick Arcade, just all day. It was all day for 7 days a week, 365 days a year for 2 years, and at least when I was in high school, the channel was still going, and this channel has basically been with me since I was in middle school up until I was in the 11th grade. And whenever I had a bad day in high school and I wanted something to watch, I would turn on Nick Gas, and even though it was the same episode of the show broadcast all day, whether it was Figure It Out or Nickelodeon Guts or Double Dare 2000, I was always watching it. And it was announced on August 13, 2007, Viacom announced that Nick Gas would shut down, and they were split in Noggin and the Yen, which Noggin and the Yen were on one channel back in the day. If you remember, Noggin used to be from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. and the Yen used to be from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. So they announced at that time in August 2007, that they were split in Noggin and the Yen, meaning they were going to be a 24/7 channel. And it was announced that the Yen would be taken over for Nick Gas. And on New Year's Eve, December 31st, 2007, Nick Gas went off the air. The last show to air on Nick Gas was Figure It Out. And the Yen went on the air at 6 o'clock in the morning. And that day, to me, I was disappointed to see Nick Gas go because, like I said, this was a channel that I first watched when I was in middle school. It was there for those years for me because back in the day, aside from Nickelodeon Cartoon Network, my top 3 channels on digital cable were the original Noggin, which was on from 1999 to I think 2001 or 2002. That was one of my favorite channels, but we didn't get that channel on the cable that I had back then because we still had the hot box. I would watch it because DirecTV over at my aunt's house carried Noggin, so that was one of my favorite channels whenever I got the chance to go to my aunt's and watch TV. When I would watch TV over there. So it was the original Noggin. It was Boomerang, the original Boomerang, when it had the Hanna-Barbera classic cartoons like the Flintstones, the Jetsons, Huckleberry Hound, McGill Gorilla. That was my number 2. And my number 1 was Nick Gas. It was always my number 1 favorite channel. But getting back to this, Nick Gas went off the air. I was disappointed when it went off the air. And after Nick Gas went off the air, I think about a couple of months later, Turbo Nick on Nick.com put the game shows on there. I think they had like Figure It Out, they had Guts, and can't remember the other ones though because this was so far back. But I remember it being on Turbo Nick. But they were taken off the air. They were taken off Turbo Nick when Turbo Nick relaunched as Nick Video. And at that time, and when it relaunched as Nick Video, there was no way to watch these game shows. There was nowhere, unless if you come to search it on YouTube or on Dailymotion. But here on YouTube, Viacom takes down some stuff, of their material, like Nickelodeon stuff, MTV stuff. We all know about YouTube and Viacom. So there was no way to see the game shows. But then 2014 came, and we got this DVD. This was Nickelodeon Games and Sports DVD, which features 2 episodes of Legends of the Hidden Temple, 2 episodes of Nickelodeon Guts, one episode of Figure It Out, 1 episode of Family Double Dare, 1 episode of Super Sloppy Double Dare, and 1 episode of Nick Arcade. And you can only get this off of Amazon. This is one of their Create Space DVDs that they made. This is an official DVD from Nickelodeon. Here's the back to it. And I wish that they would do another volume of this, but I know they're probably not going to. I mean, you can get more Figure It Outs, an episode of What Would You Do, or get an original episode of Double Dare on DVD. It's cool that we got Family Double Dare, 1 episode of Family Double Dare, and 1 episode of Super Sloppy Double Dare on this DVD. So, but I hope they do another volume of this at some point. But I know that's probably not going to happen. Well, yeah. So that's the rise and fall of Nick Gas. It started off great. The rise of the channel was great. Then the downfall happened in 2005. And what progressed from there. And some of the game shows they did air during the 90s are all that block. I remember Nickelodeon Guts and Figure It Out was on it. And I think it was, Guts and Figure It Out were on it. And that was basically the last time I seen the game shows on there. So anyways, that's it for this video. The rise and fall of Nick Gas. Just wanted to do this video because today it marks 20 years that the channel launched. So just give my memories and history on the channel. So anyways, that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this video. And if you guys have any memories of watching Nick Gas, what were your favorite game shows that you watched, Nick game shows that you watched on there? Let me know in the comments down below. So I really like to see and read your memories of the channel. What's your favorite game shows that you watched on there? So so that's it for this video. Thank you all for watching, and definitely give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, and until next video, I'll see you all later.